Hi guys, welcome back again. Here is the build video I promised on how to fix this old nightmare. Snap steering turnbuckle, missing the pin for the caster block, RPM arm broke. So what I personally need, because this has been built so many times, I need a Phillips head screwdriver and these little hex bits. Get these for like 15-20 bucks on Amazon. And then your replacement turnbuckle. This is a Traxxas heavy duty arm. They're more designed for cold weather. A little bit flexible. And then in one of my prior wrecks, I'd snapped a bolt off right in here. I was able to get that out. This is the bulkhead from STRC Racing. And I'm also going to be putting back in this. To get this job done, you have to take out that screw right there and the screw holding the shock in on the bottom and the top, and that'll come off. And you have to do the exact same thing on the other side, minus, because we're not replacing the arm, we don't have to remove the shock. Just pull it away and we're good. And then there's two screws on the top of the chassis right here that have to come out, along with these three screws here. You get them all out, and all of that's going to come down, and you can take your shock tower off of your bulkhead. So let's do that first. Take my tire off. Little fancy tool that comes in every ready to run kit. Set that off to the side. I can see the damage. Take off the snap turnbuckle on this side. Try to do it where you can see. Check out the damage. Yeah. That's all good. Alright. I'm gonna cheat a little bit. Try to do this as quick and clean as possible. You guys can see. These bottom screws here, the factory ones are always way too short. So I get these longer ones here. They just thread through and allow you to get a little bit harder of a bashing in without pulling, stripping the plastic out in here. It's usually kind of a pain to pull this hinge pin out that holds the arm in, so I grab it with some needle nose, give it couple little twists and pulls, and sometimes you actually have to remove the two screws holding the front bumper on. Okay. And the pins come right out. The arms drop right down and off. Now I can take the 3 screws out that hold the bulkhead on the bottom of the chassis. Come off to the side. I keep all my piles separate too, so that way I know which goes back where. Alright. It's kind of a tight squeeze with this Extreme Racing chassis here. Now on the back side, you'll have 2 Phillips head screws on the back of the shock tower right here. It's hard to see in the camera, but those are what's holding the shock tower to the bulkhead. So we'll go ahead and get them out of there. Really need a cordless drill that I can put this bit in. And I use overkill long screws on all of these here because I tend to either break them off or strip them when you're wrecking it. I mean, clearly look at this was straight and now it's where you at? Slight bend in that right there at the end. That's just from the wreck today. It's 60. I was getting 67 out of it, but I'm gonna be swapping the motor out to a 2050 kV Creighton engine, 6S capable. I'm going to run it on 3S for now with a 34 tooth spur gear or pinion, and trying to break that 70. The motor that's in it now just isn't cutting. You just reassemble the same way you disassembled. Kind of long and boring, but it is. Joys of owning an RC car. I think I'm constantly working on this. I also have a set of Proline Badland tires for my off-road driving. The GRPs are the way to go for street tires. I've went through probably 6 different types of tire in the last 6 months trying to find something that can actually handle power. And I mean, if you don't want foams and you want something that's actually going to last a couple of runs, GRPs are the way to go. They're belted rubber. I got the S5 compound. It's more designed for summertime, so I got to do a little bit of a burnout to get them, you know, sticky. But once they're sticky, and they get sticky, it's night and day difference on the traction. And they don't balloon. Zero ballooning. So, alright, so we got the bulkhead attached to the shock tower. I think the next thing I'm going to do while everything is out of here, I gotta get right there, that bolt for the steering. Turnbuckle, which is not going to be easy because of this chassis that I have on here. Kind of makes getting to certain stuff, there's a pain in the ass. Sorry for swearing, but it took me 4.5 hours yesterday to put this sucker together after I got off of work last night. Can't tell if it's actually coming or not. Pause this for a minute. Alright, so it was coming. I was able to get it out. It was just a little bit of a pain. There's like zero clearance for the screwdriver with this chassis to get to the screw that connects your turnbuckle on. So now I'm connecting the new steering turnbuckle on. New arm, nice and shiny. Now what I'm going to do before I install the bulkhead back on the car, it's just more simple. I have more space. Your hinge pins to go through here. I'm going to go ahead and get the new arms, or the new arm put on this one, and the other arm installed. And I'll be right back on here. Okay, so I got the green arm installed. Pin right there anyways. And go ahead and put the suspension back in. This one was a little bit of a tight squeeze in here with the GTR shocks. They don't tell you that when you buy them. Like, tight squeeze. Get that lined up with your hole. I like running them all the way out. There's 2 holes. I run it all the way out. That way it squats the front suspension a little bit more. Alright, got that all mounted up. I'm gonna get my hinge pin here. Put my caster block back in the arm. Line them holes up. Cool thing with the Traxxas heavy duty arms, this arm here has had about 35 hard wrecks on it. It's still not broke. They flex and this pin pops out. And unlike that RPM arm, which is a harder plastic, more for summertime driving probably, lesson learned. Yeah, it kept the car straighter, but one wreck. One wreck. So just take that into consideration when you drop $10 for them. Now that this arm's all done, I'm ready to go. I just gotta reconnect the steering here. And that side's done. Now this side, all I have to do is put the hinge pin in, and we can reinstall the bulkhead. Now tomorrow, my brother's coming over, and he wants to record for me that's his motor that I stole out of his rustler, because he doesn't currently have a working ESC, and he wants me to see what his motor's capable of. So I will be doing a speed run. I just GPS it with my phone, put the phone in the car, take it down, but it'll let me know what I've been running. I've been getting mid 60s solid to high 60s all day on a, not even heating this motor up, but that's all I'm getting, and I'm trying to get into that 70 plus category, if not even further. We'll see where it goes. But now the bulkhead's done. This was a little bit of a pain because of this chassis, but you have to loosen up the screws that hold the steering linkages and all that good stuff, so that way you have a little bit of flex. Like I said, it is a tight squeeze getting this back up in here, but I find it easier to slide the top in first and then get the bottom under, because this, it being an aftermarket kit, the top holes don't exactly line up, so you have to put them in first, or you're going to be fighting yourself trying to get this thing screwed down on top if you screw the bottom screws in first. Because this is aluminum, this is actually going to be quite fun without stripping it. Use that one as a guide so we can get this other one started. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and get these two bolts tightened down, and I'll get you right back on here. Okay guys, I got them two bolts back in. Got all that done. I can go ahead and put my tire back on. That was a little bit of a pain getting that all lined up. Took me about 15 minutes. Get this tire back on here, and then flip her over and put those three screws back in the bottom. And she is reassembled. And you gotta watch over tightening these. Feel a little bit of binding on the bearing. That's better. Alright. I'll flip it over. Get these 3 screws installed. It's gonna be fun. And you just got them all started. And just like that, front end is done, minus reinstalling my 3 LED lights on the arm there. Here's the motor side. What we got on time? 22 minutes? Yeah. Let's see if I have time to actually swap this out on camera. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the spur gear off the slipper clutch because this gear is plastic that is on here, and I don't know if I want to keep that on here. So I'm gonna swap it out for this nice little 30-tooth hardened steel one, along with pulling my Thor 4400 kV motor out and my 15-tooth gear. Like I'm gonna have to take the tire off on this side to get to the mounting screws for the motor. And unplug it. Just pop the fans off and out of the way. And there's the Thor. $4,400 kV next to the 6S 2050 kV. Quite the difference. I've already gone ahead and modified the transmission. I had to cut the back of the tranny off. See, it's gone to fit, and drill this hole that you see right there to fit a motor this big. So it is a big motor. I don't even know if that's gonna fit. Just barely. Like I said, it's out of the 1/8 scale 6S Armor Creighton. Put my other screw here. Gotta line the holes up. Right there. the wrong hole. The only bad thing with these big motors is they have two different size holes. Clutch plate. There it is. Okay, so the motor's only snug at the moment because I'm going to have to set the gear mesh. So I'll make sure I have enough length to run his setup. Oh, I do. Look at that. Not bad. Go ahead and put my little dinky fans on his big old motor and rebuild the slipper clutch quick. You gotta take the 3 screws out. And then the ball bearing and the slipper clutch itself. My pads all fall apart. Been blown apart so many times. Right back on there. Push the bearing out. Get the 30 tooth Mod 1 gear. If you guys are wondering, these are Mod 1 pitch. They're actually for a Traxxas Revo, if you're wondering. So if you want to run Mod 1 on your rustler, you can. Just get the spare gears for the Revo and then you're good. And see. So you get it nice and tight. Alright. And then go ahead and slide your ball bearing right back in the opening there. Easier said than done sometimes. It probably would have helped if I would have lubed it up first. Plate back on this slipper clutch. Now, spring and screw. I always go all the way tight and then back out a quarter turn. Alright, now I had a 15 tooth pinion on, which is massive compared to 48 pitch gears. This would be like the equivalent of a 25 tooth 48 pitch gear. This is what I'm going to be putting on it for size comparison. Say 34 tooth. So I'm actually oversized now. 34 tooth pinion, 30 tooth spur. Let's put make sure that's good and tight. Alright, now I just gotta set the gear mesh, which is a pain with this big old spur gear because you go and put it on, right? And you can't get to the bolts because of how big it is. It is simply that big. So get that loosened up and that loosened up so I can put the gear on and slide this fat ass motor that doesn't want to slide. Hopefully tighten it down without the motor moving. Oh, it's moving. You suck. I'm gonna pause this, it's getting too long. Okay, so I finally got it to where the mesh is gonna be good enough. I just have a little bit of obsessive compulsive disorder when it comes to that sort of thing, and I get a little paranoid because I stripped one gear out on my old lady's car, which is a Bang Good Special ZD Racing ZTX10 Thunder. Great car, but you gotta wait like 2 months for the parts. So, yeah. Alright. That's the gearing. As you can see, oversized and big as hell. I'm gonna go ahead and put the tire back on. My 17mm hex adapters, because these are a 17mm hex hub tire, and call it a day. So I thank you guys for tuning in, and look forward to tomorrow when I do the speed run. Thank you guys, and God bless you.